Welcome once again to 10 channel. Welcome subscribers. Welcome to would-be subscribers. Yes, please click on the subscription button. Yes, right now click on it actually. It will do me a whole world of good actually. Um, we are on this very important journey of finding the hidden meanings behind everyday activities. And today our major thing we are handling is formal education, what we usually call schooling actually. Um, Schooling is done everywhere in the world. In fact, there's hardly a place that is civilized that does not have formal education. The question, therefore, is why then is this talk about this thing that is every society has adopted? Why is this talk about it being irrelevant to today's um, to today's issues? And we are going to deal with that so that you understand. We started we've done the intro part. I was asked whether formal education is relevant, and for today's young person, and today we are dealing with the hidden meaning behind everyday activities, and the activity we are dealing with today is schooling, formal education. Now, why is formal education so widespread? I already spoken about the history. Usually, formal education in time past was to communicate religion, was to bring disciples, who then bring other disciples, to produce people of the same kind, obviously. And that has been taken wholesale into when it became very formalized, and in universities. Remember, some of the oldest formal education setup were in Africa, in Timbuktu. Yeah, actually, I'm talking about West Africa. Something shocking when people get the impression West Africans were some savages until we had European contact. That's another, education. One of the problems with education today is that, or in the past, was that the people communicated a lot of misinformation and sometimes plain propaganda as part of history, historical knowledge, only to keep people down so that we could trample upon them. But that's not why we are here. There is a good purpose for that system of education, and we want to talk about it and the activities within the system of education and what it was meant to accomplish. So if your child is in the school and that is not being accomplished, you know whether to send him or her to a more effective place for the delivery of that objective. So formal education, as I've said earlier in my first video, formal education is where you take people of a certain age, group them together with their peers. In other words, people born around the same time. So you say my year mate, actually, my classmate. And then you sort of start this journey of classmates and year mates together. What is it saying? Society, what is the meaning of that? Society is telling you that for the rest of your life, you'll be compared to that group. You'll be compared to those group of people who were born in 1980, in 1990, in 2000, in 2010. They'll always be your reference point. That you're all born around the same time. That we're all supposed to do the same things, start the same journeys, accomplish the same things, make the same laurels. That you're all supposed to be the same. You see, this notion that we are all supposed to be the same, as I said, was it's a religious relic that non-religious education is living up to. Is it helpful? We'll find out. So you share a class. You are then put into a place called a class with this your year mate, and you are supposed to start the journey of life together. You will never have a comfortable life. That's not reference to these people. And these are the people that you usually refer to as people. People are saying, people are doing this. They will be your people around whom you always have your comparison of being the better or worse. So that's the meaning for why you are grouped together in the same class, the same people. Society is saying because you are born around the same time, you're supposed to be capable of the same things. Therefore, let's put you in the same place so you can start your journey together. So that is the thing. And then you're also told that you're supposed to write certain exams. Uh, You're supposed to write certain tests to test how you are progressing in your education, how you are imbibing the things you are being taught. And as and when these exams come, and how you pass them determine whether you're a good student or not. Sound familiar? Of course, it sounds familiar. It's the same in the world of work. It follow you the same in marriage. You're always compared to other people. You are given similar circumstances, and then you're expected to do better than the average person. If you are told to be excellent. If you are below the average person, you are told to be doing poorly and told to back up. So that is what formal education is supposed to do for us. And you start this very early in life. Nowadays, sometimes as young as 2 years old, then you're in school, with your peers, and you move together, and then you do these exams for periodically, whether it's coloring or whatever it is, you do it periodically, and then you go up. So that's one aspect of schooling, that you have peers, that you're in the same class, that you have year mates that you are compared with. So education is teaching you that lesson. Is that not important in entrepreneurship? Well, we'll see about that. Now, there's also the teaching in the school. They call it culture. They call it religious teaching. You are taught to understand your environment in terms of what your people believe, in part of your people's history, in terms of your identity as a Ghanaian, as an African, as a human, as a male, as a woman. You are taught to understand. In fact, the thing that your parents are supposed to be teaching you in your house, you are taught it in school. And depending on where you find yourself, you are also taught the language. You are taught the language that is the lingua franca, that is the language spoken by your country or by your locality. You are taught the language. In other words, you are taught to communicate with your peers. You are taught to pronounce words. It is in school that you pick your accent. You pick your accent. You learn to speak the way your teachers speak. So your identity is formed and molded even much more in your school. And then people say, what about those who are homeschooled? Of course, those who are homeschooled um, have fewer people to be around, maybe their own peers and the rest. That's why sometimes they have to be introduced to other people because there's certain dynamics that are set in motion when you have to deal with people from different backgrounds. Because that is how the world is. You're never going to be with your own people alone all the time. You have to deal with people with other ideas, other mindsets, other backgrounds. And that is what schooling is teaching you. So if you didn't get this about why you're in the same class with people, I'm telling you today, that's what it was meant for. It was meant to get you acclimatized with people from various backgrounds, from various persuasions, various religions, with various ideas, various social backgrounds, social strata. You were introduced to the world in that manner. And it was like a microcosm of the world that you find yourself into. And people have forgotten these things. That's how come they see the things they say. Now, you're also introduced to the concept of punishment. In other words, wrong brings pain. Wrong brings pain. That's another concept you are taught in school. You are punished, you are shamed, you are set as an example, for your peers. Remember those days when we were in school, they'll call us first, second, third, and come and stand in front. And what are they doing to the rest? Those at the bottom were being told to be like us because we were the model, we were what we were all aspiring to. And in life, you always have people who are your models, people that people point to. Say you should be like that, you should be like that person. So, right from school, you introduce that concept that your society expects you to look up to those who are doing well, those who are ahead, those who have accomplished things, built things, done things, been there. So that is number three, what society will be teaching you. Then punishment. Society will be teaching you that once you do wrong, once you fail, you will feel pain. That wrong and failure are met with pain. So you have to make sure you don't do wrong or you don't fail. Otherwise, you have a painful experience. So you are lashed. I mean, you are spoken to harshly. You are embarrassed. You are disgraced by your teachers. What are all those supposed to do? You are told to go and read and all of those things in developing countries. You are detained and grounded, and all of those things. All of it is supposed to tell you that for every wrong behavior, for every out of character behavior, for every disturbance of peace, you have a consequence of and a pain of isolation. So that is a core concept that formal education teaches you. And usually schools who are very strict on this thing are called discipline schools. And they usually produce the best of students because they learn to make students conform to what should be right. Okay. And kindly schools are known for this all over the world. They produce some of the best results because they are very keen on punishment, actually. I can still remember my school at the highest habitable point in Ghana, a beautiful. Um, I can still remember my plot and how I had to be kept pristine and how it was inspected. As a junior, I had to work the land. See, that's a concept that you learn in the corporate world. That those who come in the latest. They have the worst circumstance. They have the worst. Um, they do the most of the work, and yet they have the worst of packages, and that they have supervisors breathing down their necks for them to accomplish goals. And then how well you do reflects then on your supervisor, which also reflects on his supervisor, all the way to the top. The same setup is in your school, from you to your supervisor, the class captain, all the way to your what do you call it, school prefects and the rest, all the way to your you know assistant headmaster, to your headmaster, or to your vice chancellor and the rest. So that is the same setup. Schools are always a microcosm of what is happening in the world. So how come then that schools are now producing people who can fit into the very world for which you were set up to produce from? That's what we are dealing with. Remember, I have already quoted those of you who are here for cultural Christians. I already quoted Daniel chapter 1 verse 3 to 20, where we can see a clear explanation of formal education in the kingdom of Babylon, actually, and how the people were examined and all of that before they were chosen as people at the court to advise the king. So that's another sixth thing that education teaches, actually, that schooling is just a model for representing society. That whatever you are, you have a boss who has a boss that has a boss, and you read the Ecclesiastes to tell you that that's another strange thing in this world. Your boss always will have a boss. There's always a boss above your boss. That power is hierarchical. Um, Power is a hierarchy. Yes, it's a hierarchy, and therefore the one who is your supervisor also has a supervisor, and purely how well you do reflects on all of those on your who are on top of you, all the way to the ultimate top. If it's a country, it's a president or a king or something. You know, if it is a university, it's a vice chancellor or chancellor. There's always a top beneficiary or a top person who feels the wrong of your misbehavior. And you are told that you may be the one down there, but your actions reflect on all of everybody all the way to the top. Now, so what again is formal education meant to do that um, it should be doing? You know, so but another thing too is that you are introduced to active mentoring. People sometimes forget that your first real mentoring was supposed to have been at home by your parents, actually. That's why children learn to say the things you say, do the things you do at home. You are their first real mentors. But the second time they experience mentoring is when they go to school. That's when they start talking about teacher so and so, madam that and that. All of those things are because they are understanding that they have somebody to follow, somebody to learn from, somebody to model their life after, actually. So they begin to take their words for it. Some they even take their words more serious than you, the parent, actually. So formal education introduces formal mentoring, where you have um, your teachers showing you how to live life, trying to imbibe in them the skills were also taught when they were in your age, trying to tell you the things to do and not to do for you to be successful in life, sharing their experiences with you, mentoring you. So you see that if you're a good student, your your class teacher begins to take a liking to you. It's like any time you teach somebody and then the person picks it up, it's always a joy. You begin to experience that. Then your teacher is liking the fact that you are picking what she is teaching, or you are picking what he is teaching. It becomes a joy for your teacher. I remember as a young child of around, I think class 4, class 5, my teacher sending me to the bank to withdraw money on her behalf. Such a huge responsibility. Why? Because she thought, you know, she believed in me enough to that I could do that for her, actually. And because of that, I took a liking to her, actually. And I can still remember her face even as I speak to you. I'm talking about several decades ago. Because so you begin to have your real experience of mentors in your school. In your school, the teachers become your mentors, and then they groom you to become better than them, or at least like them. So that's another 6 or 7 one. And then you are put in groups, as I said earlier in my first video. You are taught to do group work as you're put in group assignments and the rest. You are taught to work with others in a team to achieve results. As you are put in together as a football team, a cricket team, tennis, every time you're put in the team to do something, you're put in the team to accomplish a task. You are being taught teamwork. So that's the meaning behind that thing you do in school. And if the teachers will explain this way, that task will be taken more seriously by especially goal-oriented people. There are people who don't learn much. In fact, not there are people. Most people don't learn much unless they have a goal in mind to accomplish. That's why for every textbook, if it is well written, there will be the objectives of the subject or the objective of the topic, what the teacher seeks to accomplish by the time the topic is done. And these things are glossed over by people, hence people not actually connecting to the goal for which they are doing the activity. So that is what has brought the disconnect. Remember, in the first part, in the kind first educations before the formalized religious education, it was just a practical education where you were taught to do something. You were taught to fight as a soldier, you were taught to weave, you were taught to do blacksmith, you were taught to. So once you were able to do it, it was clearly seen. You didn't need a certificate, you just needed proficiency. You just needed to show somebody what you could do. But once it became difficult to show somebody what you did because people traveled and the rest moved around and the rest people could not observe what you could do. There had to be a certificate to show that somebody has actually watched you do what you say you have been trained to do. And that person certifies that you can do it. Hence certificate actually. That is why even now when you even go to the army and you graduate, you are given a certificate, something as practical as army fighting. You are still given a certificate to prove that the physical thing you say you can do, you can really do it. Education is simply to do just that, to teach you to have certain skills, certain mindset, certain ideas in life that will make you succeed. That's all education is supposed to do. It's not supposed to predict what you do in life in the future and teach you specifically how to do just that. No, you're supposed to do far more than that. That's what education is supposed to do. Now we have even as we are bringing part two to an end. Let's see. Um, okay, so anytime your paper is being marked, your teacher is looking for whether you could comprehend, you could understand what is being taught, you could grasp the concept. You see, one of the education teaches that people don't learn much of. It teaches application of principles. It teaches that's what we usually call formula. That in this problem, it teaches the major issue of entrepreneurship, which is problem solving. It teaches you problem solving skills. That's what school is supposed to do. If all your schooling you have not learned to solve problems, then you didn't go to school. That's why from class one to wherever you go to, you always be given problems to solve. Attempt these problems. Attempt these problems. Attempt this problem. solve this thing, draw this thing. All of it are teaching you how to solve problems. And that's the essential skill you need in life. The value you provide in life is that you solve problems. And that is all school does. From the beginning to the end, you'll be faced with problems and you'll be told to solve them. You'll be faced with problems, you'll be told to solve them. You'll be faced with problems, you'll be told to solve them. As for how still people come out of this many years of problem solving and still can't solve problems, we'll get to in our next video. God bless you for coming to attend this channel. Don't forget to click the subscription button, notification bell, yes, at YouTube. Don't forget to like it on Facebook, all the social media that this one will appear to. Join this family and let us learn to actually be more impactful of our society. Let us learn to be the best we can ever be. God bless you for coming. Bring others to join us as a family. And I love you and remain blessed. Amen.